Weatherbell Analytics meteorologist Joe Bastardi with your daily update here. A high-risk day, relatively speaking, over the Northeast today. And you can see the enhanced risk in here. Now, we've had over 100 tornadoes in the past 3 days, and this parade is not yet ready to stop. The Northeast today, it's real interesting. This is the big outbreak in May 31st, 1985. See the strong trough here, low up in here. Similarities going on today. These things cut in from the west-northwest as low-level warm humid air comes from the southwest, and that's a known for producing severe weather in the Northeast. I'm not going to say it's going to be like May 85, but I'm here in central Pennsylvania, for instance. I'm particularly nervous because I remember May 31st, 1985. I was watching Dallas, by the way, at 9 o'clock, and all the power went out in State College. Now, we didn't get hit by a tornado, but as you know, in northeast Ohio and in northern Pennsylvania, southern Ontario, that was a vicious outbreak. And so similarities are there today. This is tomorrow's severe weather, and we get to Saturday. We actually might play the same tune again on Saturday. Here's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And so the above average tornado season is definitely rolling along. Now, the reason for the idea in the preseason that we'd see less than normal tornado activity, and this shows the danger of making a forecast off a forecast. I've lamented the modeling losing cold air. When you have warm over cold like this, that is an anti-log for tornado, a lot of tornadic activity. What has happened is the opposite. There's the warmth in the southeast, the very cold air over the northern plains, so the fight zone is in there. The only saving grace that is this is an above normal season, but it's keeping it below 2008, 2013 is the fact Texas has been cool. Okay, because if we go back and look at 2011, there's all the cold air. Look how warm Texas was. In 2008, Texas was warm. There's all the cold air. And those 2 years, that's the 2 years that are up here. We're right over here now, and we'll probably be near this top line, well below this. And again, when you have a source region for hot air, like over Texas, and this particular spring, Texas has been cool, it's a different story. And that's why also you'll see more activity further east than average, let's say, because the warmth, the center of the warmth is off a little bit further east this year. Now I want to get to the tropics over here. I forgot to put this graphic on. Let me put this graphic on, because the point I want to make is that cold kills. Cold kills more than warm. Now we know that's intuitive because of the statistics. But when it comes to tornadoes, you've got to understand that the colder the U.S. is, the more tornadoes there's going to be. Warmth, see, and this is what's driving me nuts in this argument. These folks keep trying to say, oh, warming is all bad. That's not true. It's simply not true. It leads to imbalances that may lead to less than average tropical cyclone activity. The global ACE over the past 10 to 15 years has not come up. But what happens is every time there's a big tornado or a big hurricane, people just run to that and say, well, that's an example of what we're talking about. But look what happened with strong tornadoes in previous years where it was colder. See how this, see what's been, there's no doubt there's a trend line. And I just showed you up here the relationship between cold and warm that does this. When there's a lot of cold air around to the north, you got to look out. If it were just warm all over the place, we wouldn't have to deal with this, and that's where my bust was. All right, I bought in that the spring was going to be back in February when I made the forecast. So it's not the model's fault. It's me for not picking out the fact that the model is wrong. And believe me, we're starting to learn that models are overwarmed. I mean, we know they're overwarmed in the longer range. With this 20 years, we're supposed to be warmer than what we are. But we're talking about right up in front of us now, and that's a very big factor. Now I'm watching this area over here in the Caribbean, and eventually it'll get into the Western Gulf, and that's what I'm concerned about. Oops, there's that shot I had on earlier. There's your JMA, the upward motion, week 1 and week 2. But look what happens week 3 and 4. See, this is part of our hurricane forecast that we think we're going to have below normal activity. So we've been saying since early May, hey, we've got to look out for early season development. And Andrea doesn't count. You know, I'm not going to count that as a victory. But, you know, what will happen is for the lion's share of the season, I think the sinking air is going to be in the Western Hemisphere, reducing the total amount of storms, especially in the main development regions. All right, so I don't think it's another 2017. It looks a lot like 2015. Now, keep in mind, 2015, we had Joaquin, which devastated the Bahamas. So it's not like nothing is going to happen. Anyway, JMA week 1, I want to show you this. I love this model. All right, and there you can see the temperatures week 1. And then we go to week 2. Aha, the trough's coming east, right? And you see the cooler air coming east. And here's week 3 and 4. Lo and behold, trough over the east. And you can see the cooler that's sitting in here. What's interesting is the new UK Met summer forecast is calling for a lot of cool in that area. And the month of June on the CFSV2 is looking like this. Now we've got a big crash in the Southern Oscillation Index, and anybody watching from Australia, very cold air coming for Australia. Big high pressure system over Australia. See, we got high pressure here, low pressure here. It leads to a negative Southern Oscillation Index, which is a support factor for the El Nino. There's the high pressure over Australia week 2. And then week 3 and 4, these pressures start falling off to the east, still relatively high here relative to what's going on. Now what happens is when pressures are higher to the west, lower to the east, it means the easterlies are not as strong. So what you get is a buildup of warm water. So there's probably going to be an extra burst of warm water showing up over here. Now, here we go. Look at how cold this water is south and to the west of Australia. And this is especially conducive for Antarctic air masses. There are no polar bears in the Antarctic either, by the way. They're penguins. So this is penguin cold heading for Australia over here. And you can see the model is picking it up. It's too warm in here. It's looking at European, but this current warm spell in Australia is going to bite the dust. And I'll tell you what, the month of June in Australia, for almost the entire place, is going to be cold. You say, well, what does that have to do with us, Joe? Well, it means that there's probably going to be a lot of high pressure across Australia during the month of June, and that influences the Southern Oscillation Index, which, of course, means that the El Nino, we watch this El Nino, is not going away soon, for one, and for two, that in turn, see, when it gets cold in Australia, the subsidence goes into the Atlantic basin, so there's a reaction that goes on. See what I'm saying? So it means the Madden Julian oscillation is moving. Maybe you don't see what I'm saying. But anyway, I tried. That's it for now. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.